Let T represent the year 2000, and the sales and expenses will be represented in thousands of dollars. That's key information, and so if you had this in front of you, you're going to be highlighting just the most important things. A small store has been in business since the year 2000. The chart below shows the store's operating expenses and total sales for the year since 2000. The first thing I need to do is I need to implement what it says. It says T equals 0 will be the year 2000. If you were with me in class, you're not writing anything down right now. So T equals 0. This is a difference of 1. This is a difference of 2. A difference of 3. And I will continue to always subtract back to 2000 because it's not always going to consistently go up by 1 year. Keep that in mind. Now let's see if you understand this. To your partner right now, if I said 2009, what would T be equal to? 9, because 2009 minus 2000 would be 9, right? If I said 2012, well, 2012 minus 2000 would be 12. We understand those basic concepts. Okay, we're going to get started together. So here's the first question. We want to create a cubic model. That means we're going to use a regression model on our calculator for operating expenses. What I want you to write down in your notes right now is I want you to write down that time is always the independent variable. You are all writing that down. Time is always the independent variable. And if you're like, that really doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. Time is always your X value. Time is always your X value. And in the calculator, that means that time is going to be in the L1 column. Make sure you have that down. So our time is our independent variable. It's like our X variable, or X value, and it's always the L1. So we see 3 different rows. We have 6 columns, but we see 3 different rows. And so we're going to be asked to do 2 things. First, we're going to create a cubic model. We want it to match what we see here. And it's going to be based on operating expenses and years. And then the next will be total sales and years. So let's get started with the very first one. With me, please grab your calculator. I'm going to zoom in here. And we're going to all go to Stat. Edit will be highlighted and press Enter. Remember, your L1 is time. So for me, I'm going to go 0 all the way out to 6, pressing Enter after I type in each digit. Now, entering one wrong value is going to throw off our answer. So you're going to go back after you finish each column and make sure that you have correctly entered in the values. This particular part wants us to create an equation based on operating expenses. So I've entered in the time. The time will be our L1, and now I'm going to enter in expenses. So I'll go back to L2 and enter in expenses. And as I did for L1, I want to make sure that I've correctly typed in each value. All looks great. How do we create a cubic regression model? We're all going to go up to Stat. We're going to go across to Calculate, all the way down to Cubic Regression, and I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner to where it says Enter, and I'm just going to press Enter, Enter, Enter until I come up with an equation. Can you and your partner please put a green cup on top when you have displayed on your screen what I have up here? A green cup goes on top. We now are going to take this, and as if we were in a Word document, we're going to copy and paste it into an equation. So can everybody go to y equals? How do we copy and paste this in? We learned how to do this in Unit 1 back in August. We're all going to go to VARs, and we're going to go down to Statistics, which is number 5. We're going to go across the top to EQ for equation, and we're going to press Enter. So everybody else, we're going to go on to our next task. Do not erase anything. We're now going to create a cubic model using the regression capabilities in our calculator for total sales. So if you're in class, on the board I wrote this down because this is key, and I asked you to do the same. My first equation was based on expense over time. My second equation is going to be based on sales over time. Now, it's not always going to be in that order. Like sometimes my Y1 will be sales, and sometimes it may be expenses in these type of problems. But you need to keep it organized. So how are we going to do that? I do not want to erase this. So how do I get out of here cleanly? We're going to hit second and quit. I also want to do the least amount of work. So everybody hit stat and edit. Don't erase anything. When I type in the next information, and we want to create an equation based on sales and year, the years remain the same. It's still going to be 0 through 6, representing 2000 to 2006. But now, I'm going to replace the L2 with these values for sales. Please do the same. And once you get there, we're going to do the same process. We're going to create this cubic equation using the regression capabilities. So what I do next is I come up here and I hit stat. I go to calculate. I go all the way down to cubic regression, and I press enter all the way through. All right, so if you are with me, we're now going to take this, and how do we copy and paste this into Y sub 2? Remember, Y sub 1 in this particular problem is expenses, and Y sub 2 is sales. So I'm going to go up to Y, and I'm going to go down to Y sub 2. I hit VARs. I go down to statistics, across to EQ, and press enter. So I've completed the first two tasks. I have an equation now in my calculator for expenses and sales. This is key. Please make sure you have this down. Let's go on to the next one. For this next one, we are asked to calculate the total expenses, the sales, and the profit in a particular year. Now, remember, if I come back up here, I need to write this down. When is 2004? Well, 2004, this is T equals 0. 1, 2, 3. So I want to know what is T for. So next to this, I'm writing T equals 4. And I know that you are just watching this, but that's what you would do on your paper if you had this document. Okay, so this is going to be my input, and I want to know what's the output for expenses, what's the output for sales, and what's output for profit. Now, on our calculator, I can do these two pretty easily, but what's the key here? So can everybody go back? Yours may be different than mine. Go back to the screen. I want you to look at this color that represents your L1. Now, I know from my previous one, my L1 is expenses. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to write next to expenses, I'm going to write blue. I don't want to be confused. So when I look at a graph that has multiple equations graphed on it, I know the blue represents expenses. Sales is my second one. So next to sales, I'm going to write red. Right, okay, so let's get started right now. I also want to come up here and remind you, when we saw this, remember, the sales and expense is not $12 that you spent in 2000. You didn't spend $3. You spent, take it times 1,000, which means we take this value, we move it 3 places to the right. So the expense was $12,000 for the small business, and the sales was $3,000 for the small business. We're going to move that decimal 3 places to the right, which is the same as multiplying times 8,000. Why does that matter? Let's look right now. Okay, are you ready? Take your calculator, go up to Windows. And we've been learning about domain in the previous unit, which is Unit 3. And so if I only look at this from 2000 to 2006, if that's the only window I look at, I'm going to plug in 0 to 6. So can everybody go 0 to 6? And then hit zoom fit, which is zoom 0. And I should see 2 different equations graphed. Once again, the blue graph equation represents the expense, and the sales represents the red. Now, we want to know in the year 2004. So can everybody go second, calculate, value, and type in 4. What's beautiful about this is that we can jump from one line to the next using this arrow. So I want to go blue first. I'm already on blue. Okay, so everybody look down below here. Now, here's the easy part about doing this. We're going to round to the nearest thousands. So if I move this decimal 3 places to the right, we can say, again, blue represents my expenses. My expenses was $4,245. $4,245. That was the expense in the year 2004 for this small store. Now let's look at sales. So how do I jump up to the red, which represents sales? Use the arrow, jump straight up. What was the sales in the year 2004? It would be $10,890. Okay, next up. So as you came in, we talked about it, we gave this little scenario about selling these little bags of gummy bears and making a profit, and profit was sales minus expense always. So in my last step, I want to, on a calculator, be able to identify the profit on specific years. Now, this one is going to be for 2004. Can everybody go up to y equals? And I want you to go down to y sub 3. It will not always be in this order. This is why you have to be organized. Remember, profit, and I'm just going to abbreviate here, profit is always sales minus expense. That's always the case. But our first equation may be sales sometimes, or sometimes our first equation will be expense. You just have to realize for each problem, how are you setting it up? So for us, is sales the first or the second? A second. So I need to type in y2, because that's my second equation. How do I do that? Can everybody hit vars on your calculator once you're in y sub 3? And then I want you to go to y vars. Function should be highlighted, press enter, and go down to y sub 2 and press enter. Profit is going to be sales subtract expense. So do a subtract, and now we need to represent the equation for expense, which for this particular word problem happens to be the first equation. How do I do that? Exact same procedure. Go vars, please go to y vars, function, and now y sub 1. Okay, next to profit, we are going to highlight, and above it, I can see that my third equation happens to be the color black. Okay, you ready? Everybody hit graph. Can I have a thumbs up in the air if you happen to have this? Thumbs up. If your partner doesn't have a thumbs up, please help them. Okay, so how do we figure out the company's profit in this particular year, which is t equals 4? Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go second, calculate, value. I'm going to type in 4. And when I type in 4, I'm like, uh-oh, this is where students would often write this down wrong. I want to find the line that is black. So I'm just going to use my arrow, and there it is. Now, if you write down 6.645, it is wrong. Why? Turn to your partner. Why would that be wrong? Within thousands, we're going to move that decimal 3 places to the right, so it's 6,645 if I'm rounding to the nearest thousands.